buoys, lifeguard chairs, the suits and shirts for the guards, whistles, pretty much anything that doesn't go to maintaining the pool or, the premises would be considered.
Thank you. And this past year was very minimal, which means it's not a purchase a lot of things.
Any other questions? The pool has always been, relatively easy because there's not much there per se. I know it's important, but we appreciate you working with us and with our strict budget.
Thank you. Thank you for including us.
Thank you. Council, if no other questions?
I have one.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
have y'all discussed about what the charge is if they use that splash pad, Lisa?
Well, I guess it was back when Ms. Turner was here, we had raised the cost of admission because
So
of
it
the
would be a
splash
one
pad.
fee, the pool? And
Right.
Okay.
They would be able to come in and use the pool or the splash pad or both. Same thing with parties, the splash pad would be open because really there's,
Okay.
we don't need a lifeguard
Right there, no.
back there. We just kind of need to patrol it once in a while.
Okay. Thank you.
Was the intention always to charge for the splash pad? I can't remember when we...
I don't know that we ever talked about it.
I think raising the admission prices was supposed to be.
So people have to pay to get into the pool to get into the splash pad.
Right.
What is the charge now to go to the pool?
Adults are $5, we went from $3, is that right, $3? Children were $2 and now they're $3. Senior citizens were $1.50, now it's $3.
You went up on me, guys.
Same thing. And 3 under is free. So see, a lot of people that are going to be using the splash pad are going to have those little ones.
So they can use a splash pad and the,
Right.
that's great.
Did you raise, sorry,
Go ahead, there.
did you raise prices on private parties, events?
What we did was had a distinguished price for out of town or in town. We raised the price on weekend parties. You're going to be paying $25 more for a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Just because those are
The weekend.
hot items. I mean, they go quick. And and everyone is fine with paying that. And if they want a Saturday night party, they're going to pay $25 more than if they want a Wednesday night party. If they're out of town, they're going to pay $25 more than someone that's in town.
Okay,
So far, it's been pretty good.
Not local. What is the base price?
I believe it's $150 for 2 hours for a resident on a weeknight.
Okay, so on a weekend for somebody out of town it would be 200 for 2 hours.
Yes. Mhm. And then they're going to pay, if they want an additional hour, it's going to be $75. And a lot of people do that with 3-hour parties. We even have 5-hour parties. They're going to pay $75 for each hour. And the more people they have at their party, they have to tell us in advance, and we provide lifeguards to, according to how many people they're going to have. And they pay extra for the extra lifeguards.
Ms. Lisa, how's your attendance been so far?
Pretty good. The rain kind of slowed us down a bit, but it's working back up. It's gotten very busy compared to years ago.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, council, any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may we excuse the department heads as they're done, the judge and the pool manager, they're gathered in suit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Okay, moving on to item C, the development, and I'm going to call her Lyle because to this day I can't see her last name.
Michalowski.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
I'll call it Kyle.
Right? That's my brother. My other brother.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start on page 1. down to license permits. License permits went up 20,000, pretty much everything else stayed the same. Inspections stayed the same all the way through. And then we're gonna go to page 7.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick while. On page 7 for the salaries, I do have a correction. I didn't have the part-time, well, not part-time, the halftime. What am I, yes,
Split.
Jesse, split, yes, Jesse's, not Jesse, Ralph's salary in there, so now it's in,
Code.
yes.
So what is the correction?
On the salaries, it's going to be $60,138.
One more time.
And $60,138.
Okay.
Then, of course, it trickles down. Payroll taxes will be $4,582. Retirement, $5,624. Employee insurance, $10,051. And the workers' comp insurance is $1,863.
What does that bring our total to?
Hold on. I didn't do a total.
So it's more than he quoted, right?
$83,258. $83,258.
And what did you quote, Larry?
All I quoted was salary on top.
Oh, I'm
where it
sorry.
comes from. I didn't do the total.
Okay.
All
And
right.
that's for 1.5 employees, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of things get personal and move on to supply the materials, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, supplies, material, we went up on advertising, legal notices, about $1,000. Postage stayed the same. Office supplies went up $700. Forms spent $0. Tool supplies stayed the same. Travel training, we had an increase of $1,000. Uniforms, $1,200. I don't know, is that half of Ralph's uniforms there too?
Well, I left that, I wasn't sure if,
Because I don't have uniforms.
you know, was gonna have uniforms or not. That says,
Ralph gets an allowance with PD. Yeah, he's the.
right, yeah, Ralph is through PD versus PD uniform, so that's there,
And I don't have.
and you do not have one.
Let's go down. And that's for a total of $8,000 for supplies and material. Utilities, we dropped drastically for this $2,000 on telephone.
I'm gonna interrupt you again, sorry, Lau. Here, we have telephone and cell phone together, and I split them. So there's more transparency, and that way, if we do have questions on how much cell phone is or telephone, it's easier to differentiate the two.
Okay, so everything's broke out separate.
Correct.
And for total utilities, it was $5,500. We had no internet all these previous years, but now we have $3,000.
It was all lumped together,
Okay.
yes.
All right, contractual. Let's see, the first one's engineer fees, professionals, it stayed the same, 30,000. So did legal fees, high-tech stayed the same. We have an increase on, that's the increases on ITIP.
Is that when you split those up as well?
And no, that is for the, for ARCOM. There was not anything budgeted last year for him, but there should be, so.
Okay.
Or what is that?
ARCOM for their,
Okay.
for IT.
Thank you.
And that's because you're splitting it across all departments.
Correct.
Ashley?
Building inspection services, increase of 25,000. Confiscation services, 1,500. Equipment, copier, it went up, 2,100. For a total of 159,400.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is covered under the Wilson County Health Inspections?
Food service permits, we have a joint thing, we do the permits. I think we get $25 out of it and the rest of it goes to the county for the actual inspections. They do quarterly inspections of all restaurants in the city.
Okay.
So that's kind of like for restaurants and food vendors?
Correct.
Have we always had this department? I mean, as far as it being under development department, or was it listed under?
It's been listed under development for some time now.
Okay. Okay. Council, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. Well, thank you, Lyle. Short and
Thank you.
sweet. Okay. Item D, the mayor and council. I'm going to turn it over to our finance director.
On this one, nothing's really changed. I know we usually do not go over this, but we have been paying, and it's what's budgeted for legal fees. They've been coded just as like our city attorney's fees are. But there is a line item on this, on your page 6 for legal fees election. So I'm wanting to budget there for the legal fees that we do have currently for the litigation that is ongoing right now. I wanted some guidance though on maybe, in the past it has been 42,500 that we've been budgeting, but we have exceeded that each year and we have already exceeded it this year. I don't know what a fair number is.
I have a question about coding it under election expenses, because that's specific to when we're having an election. This litigation is litigation, the topic is election, so to speak, but it's not for election purposes. It's purely just litigation, regardless of what the topic may be. So I don't know if I would have it say that it was under election expenses.
Okay, I can put it back in it's been coded under general admin. But then my recommendation would be to have a separate line item. We've been asked, several times on open records, to pull these invoices. And so we're having to go through all the invoices. It's just not very transparent as to how much, we've paid.
Cindy and I spoke about it, and I think anytime that there is a special counsel that we are paying, it needs to be separated from the everyday standard legal fees from our city attorney. And like she said, when it comes to open records requests, they'll dig for days to be able to find everything that we need to find. So separating it just kind of, it puts everything out there.
I have a question. Because it says contractual, so that would mean that it's non-salary. So then would our city attorney's salary, that's divided amongst all the departments?
Right, hers is not included in this.
So I guess I'm confused about what the
on-
issue is with,
So
so they're
currently-
paying for invoices, is it because?
Because right now, everything is put under legal fees. There's just a legal fees listed in every single
Even
department.
her
Even,
salary?
yes. But if you separate it, and we don't have to call it election, you can call it legal fees special counsel. That way, anytime a special counsel is involved, that's where all of our expenses are gonna go. They should be separate from your original legal fees. And it says contractual because you are on a contract with them.
So then, yeah, thank you. My next question is, then where is our city's attorney salary in the budget?
She comes out in the general fund, I don't know when we're doing admin. I already saw on my calendar.
Admin, I
I'm
believe,
just
on
trying
this.
to make it like, you know,
But
make sense.
she comes out of admin for water, wastewater, and for general fund. So she's split 3 ways.
But does it state legal fees or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, legal.
That's what she's on.
So,
And we'll see that at the last workshop, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
So do you have, and I think you stated that maybe you don't, but do you have an amount of what we have paid for this?
I think we should have a printout.
You have a printout
Oh,
on
do
your
I?
desk.
like
Okay,
this.
it's in here somewhere.
It should be just a piece of paper. Yes.
Okay.
So I did prior year and then I did current year to date.
So the question is, how do we want to classify it? As you've suggested on the,
Right, and I don't mind, I can move it back to general fund admin, but I will put a separate line then, if that's the case.
council, do you have any suggestions for this one?
Whatever y'all think is, I mean, best, it needs to be transparent, I know that. It wasn't before. So however y'all think.
I just think it doesn't need to say election, it can be
Yeah.
contracted. I'm sorry, Monica, the wording you used.
You said special counsel, right? Okay,
Yes.
Because there is circumstances that we have to get with our city attorney and hire somebody else to take care of certain matters, and we can budget specifically for that. Your question is, how much do you think we should budget for that to be accurate also?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So I think the consensus is to do it that way, take it out of council.
Put it general admin and I'll put special counsel.
No, I believe leaving it under
Leave it.
under this department,
But
but
it's
listing it
special-
as special
okay.
counsel.
Listed separate, but leave it under the budget like Monica says.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then my next question, Cindy, when they do an audit, and even though it's listed under general mayor and city council, if it has to be another firm because they specialize in something else that another project that we're taking on, does that have any bearings on when we do an audit that they say, well, this doesn't have anything to do with mayor and city council, it has something to do with
Right,
land development?
yes. If we did that at that time, we'd have to come and do an amendment because I'd asked to have another line added to the budget for whatever department it is.
Okay. I don't think it's a big deal to amend it.
Not yet, right?
Okay.
Can I ask about I know that, I don't think the city was here, but the election expenses, I know that I've asked about this in the past. This is a good time to kind of figure it all out. Why was it raised to 100,000 from 12,000?
We aren't sure if we're gonna have 2 elections come next fiscal year, if there will be one in November and then in May, or we're just trying to,
So 100,000.
it's about 50,000 each election.
And I think the worry
With
on,
the renting of equipment.
Why are our actual showing less than 10?
We didn't have an election.
and then Councilman Varian, there's also the question of whether the city's going to do the election on its own, or if you're going to go with the county. And there's a difference in cost in that aspect as well.
And with her saying that as well, The city does own some pieces of equipment for election, but we have received notice from our vendor that does our programming, they will no longer be doing programming. The machines that we use are very old and outdated. And as I'm sure all of you have seen, the county has upgraded all of their equipment and they're up to date. So if there were an election to be called for November, at this point, you'd have to contract with the county because we do not have the equipment to support an election.
And with new equipment comes new ballots. and new
Correct.
training.
So that's something to keep in mind as well. And it's not cheap to rent equipment either. And like Cindy said, honestly, I think it was closer to 60,000 that we spent on the last election that we had. And only because on election day, you have to set up at each county polling location. And once we did the annexation in 2019, we brought in another location. So we had 4 locations on election day. And then you also have to staff those polls.
So that should be more than enough money then.
That should be more than enough money for one election, yes. Now, if you have 2 in the same fiscal year,
Yeah.
you're gonna really push it closer, you're gonna go over.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you so much to Cindy for breaking it down and explaining a lot of it to us. Once again, any other comments or questions by staff or by council?
Just one comment from the city manager. We appreciate you allowing the department heads to present. This is something that they're learning. You can tell that some are versed, some are not, but at the end of the day, their input is important to the council, and that's what I'd like for them to present. That way we know they are reviewing their budgets with our finance director. I interject on some issues if I need to, but we need to make sure that we're all working together.
Yes.
Yes, so just each department head is prepared a week before, a week ago, and give it to them, let them get comfortable with it, ask me any questions they have. So.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been kind of wondering, what about, have we met with any, and this may be out of what we're doing here today, but have we met with anybody on insurance?
That is coming up in an upcoming meeting.
Okay, thanks, Monica.
Okay. No other comments or questions? Thank you so much. Reminder that there is a meeting tomorrow night, also starts at 5:30, a workshop, a joint workshop tomorrow at 5:30. And so with no other items on the agenda, this workshop is concluded at 6:17 p.m. Thank you so much.
That's good.
Good girl.
Hey.